Welcome everyone to the statewide Medicaid Managed Care Long-Term Care Program webinar for long-term care potential network providers. This presentation is part of a series designated to teach you about the statewide Medicaid Managed Care Long-Term Care Program. In particular, this presentation will teach you about enrollee and provider protections in the statewide Medicaid Managed Care Long-Term Care Program. To access today's presentation, please follow the link below to the SMMC website. That would be AHCA.myflorida.com/SMMC and select the News and Events tab under the header image. Note, you can also use the red button to sign up for SMMC program updates via email. Next, please select Event and Training Materials to download today's presentation. You may also view details regarding future SMMC events using the Upcoming Events tab. Last, choose the files you would like to save. Another note, you may also view files from past events and AHCA guidance statements or submit questions to be answered in future presentations. Now that everyone has had a chance to download today's presentation, let me introduce you to today's presenter. We have Beth Kidder with the Agency for Healthcare Administration. I will now hand you over to Beth.
Thank you all for joining us. Again, I'm Beth Kidder with the Agency for Healthcare Administration. I also have Eunice Medina with the Department of Elder Affairs here with me, and she'll be helping with the questions. As you all know, we are launching a new long-term care program. It's a new system of care for our enrollees to receive their long-term care services through a managed care system. This is called the Long-Term Care Program, and it's being implemented by regions starting August 1st. So the first region to go live is Region 7, which is Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and Brevard counties. I think many of you know that managed care is when there is a health plan that's responsible for ensuring that their enrollees receive the health and long-term care services that they need. And again, that's the model that we're moving to for our long-term care services in Florida. This presentation is not a comprehensive presentation on the long-term care program. There are many resources on the website that Jessica pointed you to. We have many other types of webinars on various aspects of the program, and our AHCA website, which is AHCA.myflorida.com/SMMC for statewide Medicaid Managed Care, has a tremendous amount of resources about the program. Today's webinar is about the types of protections for enrollees and providers in the program. We'll start out with how recipients are making a choice of providers, talk about some of the enrollee protections, such as making sure that their services continue to get delivered, maintaining and enhancing complaint, grievance, and fair hearing protections, and then talk also about the network service provider protections. So starting out with a brief overview of how recipient choice works. The Medicaid recipients will be contacted by the agency ahead of their enrollment in a long-term care plan. About 3 months prior to the go-live in their region, recipients receive a brief welcome letter that introduces them to the long-term care program. And then about 2 months prior to the go-live in their region, they get a comprehensive packet that tells them about the plans in their region, how to make a choice, and introducing the long-term care program to them. They then have choice counselors in the region who conduct local in-person outreach in long-term care facilities to various advocacy-type groups that work with seniors and people with disabilities, and do other types of outreach to interested parties in the region. Recipients have 3 different ways that they can choose a plan. They can call a choice counselor at a toll-free number and talk to them about their options. They can ask to meet with a choice counselor in person, or they can go online to make their choice at the choice counseling website. The choice counselors are independent entities that do not have any affiliation with any plan. That's actually a federal requirement that they be completely independent and have no conflict of interest. And those independent choice counselors are trained to help recipients choose the plan in their region that best meets their needs. If recipients do not take action to enroll, they receive a reminder letter that also tells them about their choices and how to enroll. And then if they don't actively choose a plan, they are assigned to a plan. And they actually get that plan assignment in the letter that is sent out to them in the welcome and the reminder letters. So if they like the choice that has been automatically assigned to them, then they don't have to take any action, and they'll just go ahead right into that plan. Recipients who do actively make a choice through any of the means, telephone or online or in person, they receive a letter that confirms their plan choice. And after they enroll in a long-term care plan, they have 90 days to change to another plan if they wish. They don't have to have any reason to do that. They can just change. However, once they've been enrolled in a plan for 90 days, they need to remain with that plan until the next open enrollment period. That's typically about a one-year total enrollment, and there will be an open enrollment every year. There are exceptions if there's a good cause reason for change, and the recipient can apply for that, and those are considered on a case-by-case basis. Every year, again, as I mentioned, recipients have the opportunity to change their plans during an open enrollment. Enrollee and network service provider protections. This is during the transition period and going forward. The first is that there's enhanced care coordination for all enrollees in the long-term care program. Every enrollee will have a case manager who works with them to ensure that the services are delivered throughout the transition and beyond the transition period, to identify the types of services that they need, and to assist the enrollee to identify and choose providers that can best meet their needs. Now, long-term care plans can limit the number of providers in their network based on credentials, quality, and price, but they always have to have enough providers to care for all the enrollees and to give the enrollees a choice of providers. This next part is very important. In terms of ensuring that our recipients continue to receive services during the transition period to the new long-term care program, we have a number of different provisions in place. The first and most important is that long-term care plans must continue enrollees' current services for up to 60 days, and that's until a new assessment and a care plan are complete and the services are put into place. During this time period, until the assessment is done and the care plan is complete and the services are in place, the long-term care plans must continue the same services, the same providers, the same amount of services, and pay the same rate of pay if that's not a provider that's part of their network. And when we talk about current services, we're talking about nursing facility services, hospice services, and the waiver services. Now, if you're a service provider that has not contracted with that individual's long-term care plan, you must continue to serve the enrollee for up to 60 days or until the enrollee selects another service provider and a new plan of care has been developed. We have required the long-term care plan to authorize and pay for services rendered by the non-contracted providers until a contracted provider is in place and the long-term care plan notifies the provider in writing that reimbursement will end on a specific date. So you will have some indication that you should stop providing services. Again, if a Medicaid recipient is selecting a long-term care plan that doesn't have a contract with the current provider, that plan's case manager is going to work very closely with the recipient to choose another service provider that can best meet his or her needs. There are a couple other protections for enrollees that I wanted to make sure you were clear on. The contract between the state and the long-term care plans prohibits the plans from requiring enrollees to enter alternative settings that may be less costly than remaining in their own homes. Specifically, I think there is concern that managed care plans might find that an individual recipient is becoming too costly to care for in their home and might suggest that they go to an assisted living facility. They can suggest that, but ultimately it's the choice of the individual. If they wish to stay in their own home, that is their choice. Also, enrollees residing in nursing facilities can choose to remain in that facility as long as they continue to meet level of care requirements. So a managed care plan cannot require a person to move out of a nursing facility if that person wishes to stay and they meet level of care. Now, in terms of providers also have protections. First, each long-term care plan must offer contracts to all of the certain types of providers in their region for the first year of the program. Those are nursing homes, hospices, and the aging network service providers. In terms of aging network service providers, there was a list of those that they were required to offer contracts to. Those were in the invitation to negotiate, which was the competitive bid document put out last July. And that was a list of providers that had billed for services in the 6 months prior, basically between January and July of 2012. So providers have a choice. They can contract with one or more of the long-term care plans in each region, or if they choose not to do that and to not participate in the long-term care program, they can work with those plans to ensure a smooth transition for their recipients. So how can providers obtain a contract? If you are not already under contract and you wish to be under contract, you should contact the long-term care plans in your region. Each of the 11 regions, which are the same AHCA and DOEA regions, same as the DOEA planning and service areas, you should contact the long-term care plans in your region. There are specific provider network contacts listed on our website. Again, our website is ahca.myflorida.com/SMMC, and if you go under the long-term care tab and select the providers tab, that is where you can find the specific contacts, along with a lot of other information. We get a lot of questions about whether you can negotiate a contract. The agency does not say that you can't negotiate a contract. In fact, most contract provisions are negotiable, including rates. There are certain things that do have to be in every contract that a plan offers. It's a fairly limited list, but if you wish to see what things the plans are required to put in their subcontracts, the entire long-term care contract between the state and the plans is on our website, and there are directions here for how to get to that. Another question that we get a lot from providers is, well, when do I have to have a contract by? The answer to that really is now, and that's true for all of the regions. You really should be either have a contract for the earlier regions to go live or be well underway with contract negotiations for all the other regions. And I can describe a little bit more of the timing to you. Recipients begin choosing their plans 2 months prior to the go-live date. At that time, the choice counselors are using a list of the contracted providers to help recipients choose a long-term care plan. So if a recipient calls in or goes to the website, they're looking for lists of very often they're looking for plans that have their providers already under contract. In order for you as a provider to be on that list, you must not only have an executed contract, but you also must have that contract, or the plan must have had that contract verified by an automated system we have called the Provider Network Verification System. That ensures that a number of requirements are met, including that the provider is registered with Medicaid, or if you're going to be under contract with the fee-for-service PSN, American Elder Care, that you have a Medicaid provider ID, and you're fully enrolled in Medicaid, and a number of other requirements. So all of that really needs to be completed at least 2 months prior to the go-live when recipients start making their choices. It is a legitimate question to ask the plan as to whether your contract has been validated through the Provider Network Verification System. I want to put a special emphasis on ALF. Assisted living facilities really should be contracting right now. ALFs are more than just a service provider. They're a person's home. And by contracting now, you can reassure your residents that they can continue living in the ALF. If you don't contract with the ALF or come to some agreement with the long-term care, if the long-term care plan and the ALF cannot come to an agreement, and there are Medicaid recipients living in that are part of the long-term care program, those individuals will have to make a choice of ceasing to have Medicaid pay for their long-term care services or moving to another facility. And that will begin immediately after go-live. When notifications to that effect will go to those individuals shortly after go-live in each region. So again, unless an ALF contracts with at least one long-term care plan, then reimbursement from Medicaid long-term care services is no longer going to be available to that ALF for those individuals that are in the long-term care program. That person might have to relocate to another facility. How will providers know what long-term care plan their recipients have chosen? There's one way to do that is to ask the recipient. The recipient will have a letter stating their plan choice over 60 days prior to the go-live date. That will be their auto-assignment, we call the auto-assignment plan, that is on the very first letter that they get 60 days prior to their region starting. Now, if they change plans through the choice process, then they will get a confirmation letter, and that's the one that you should go by. The other way is that on the go-live date, you will be able to check the Medicaid eligibility verification system, just as you do now for any Medicaid recipient. We have been giving training webinars on how to check eligibility. They're detailed webinars with screenshots to show you what to look for in checking eligibility and what the new long-term care program, how that will show up in MEVs. Those are available on the same website where you found this webinar. How will you know whether to continue services? The bottom line is that you should continue to provide services until you receive instructions from the long-term care plan. This is essential to ensure that people's services continue. We expect current long-term care providers to cooperate and communicate with the incoming long-term care plans during the transition process. This includes providing information that would be pertinent to an enrollee's plan of care, and again, continue to provide services for an enrollee for up to 60 days post-transition until that new plan of care is in place. During the transition period, until they can get a new plan of care in place and new services started, the long-term care plan must pay their network providers the rate that they've agreed to in their subcontracts. And if you're not a network provider and you're providing these services, the plan must pay you the rate that you're currently being paid. Now, the long-term care plans may require providers to submit documentation of that current rate of pay, such as a recent referral agreement, a subcontract, paid claims, or other kind of evidence. That the plans are prepared to ask for that, and you should be prepared to provide that to them. What should providers do if they have difficulty getting paid? Our local Medicaid offices, our provider relations staff are prepared to assist you in facilitating those conversations with the managed care plans. Our contact numbers for the area offices are online. We've provided the address. The agency is going to ensure that providers are paid appropriately and timely for the services that are rendered according to a current care plan. We stand behind this. We will ensure that you are paid. It's our critical priority that people continue to get services, and we will ensure that you're getting paid for that. In regard to enrollee protections, this has to do with the complaint, grievance, and fair hearing processes. Enrollees have appeal rights under their long-term care plan. They maintain the right to disagree with any change in their services, and the long-term care plans have to notify their enrollees of their right to challenge a denial, termination, suspension, or reduction of services. So this is not different than any other Medicaid service. They have the right to challenge that through the long-term care plan. The case managers will help the enrollees file complaints and grievances. The long-term care plan will contact the enrollee in writing to confirm that they've received an appeal and to tell the enrollee of the plan's response to the appeal. And they have the right to continue receiving their current level of services while the appeal is under review. So when we're talking about appeal in this context, that is a process that the managed care plans offer to help resolve complaints and issues with their enrollees. In addition to that, the fair hearing process is not changing. Enrollees can continue to seek a Medicaid fair hearing if their services are reduced, denied, suspended, or terminated. There's a number of ways that they can file for a fair hearing. They can call, they can fax, they can write, they can email. The fair hearing right is there even if the recipient has used the plan's appeal process. They can still go to a Medicaid fair hearing. So the Medicaid fair hearing right is still completely intact and can be used at any time if their services have been reduced or suspended or any of those other issues. In addition to that, there's another layer of protection, which is the Independent Consumer Support Program. This is operated by the Department of Elder Affairs, and there's a number of different elements to this. The Aging and Disability Resource Centers will help resolve issues for consumers by assisting them with the information they need to contact their long-term care plan, file for a Medicaid fair hearing, or taking whatever other action is necessary to help resolve a complaint. In addition, assisted living facilities, nursing facility, or adult family care home complaints can also be resolved through contract with the long-term care ombudsman. So there are a number of different layers of support and protection for enrollees in the program. This last slide is just our general information about where you can get more information on an ongoing basis about the program. If at any time you have questions about the program, you can email them to Florida Medicaid Managed Care at AHCA.myflorida.com. This is available at all times, and we do answer these questions. Typically, we answer them through frequently asked questions posted to our website, and we have dozens of pages of questions and answers categorized by categories, and we do update those every week to 10 days. In addition, we continually post updates about the program at our website, which is ahca.myflorida.com/SMMC. On that website, there is a News and Events tab that gives you information about things like these webinars. You can also sign up to get program updates on the webpage. There's a red sign-up box on the right-hand side of our page. And then finally, if individuals are needing information about the enrollment process and the expanded benefits that plans are offering, they can go to our Choice Counseling website, which is listed. Okay, with that, I think we'll conclude, and I'll let Jessica do any kind of closeout that's needed.
If you would, send any other questions that you have to our email. It's Florida Medicaid Managed Care at ahca.myflorida.com. Thank you all, and have a great day.